Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel. We're in bag 10. Let's do step 2 and attach the motor. So the first thing I need to do is get the motor out. Now they do provide us with a flat piece there, and they give us some little tie down and a screw. Now that that's going to be unique to this motor. Tekin usually gives you one of these little connectors. It's basically a wire catch. Oh, excuse me. So it attaches to the side of your motor. At least they used to do it that way. Let's see. There's our plug, and no, they don't do it that way now. They used to have like a threaded hole where you would attach this piece here, and that would, you know, you'd put your sensor wire through that to help keep the sensor wire from coming unplugged. You definitely wouldn't do it at the front end of the motor. You would do it back here, but they don't provide that, and I'm certainly not going to pull one of these flatheads to attach this, so I'm just not going to worry about that. Now I bought a separate cable of a specific length, but this may be correct as well. The idea is to tape this down here with some clear tape, just like box tape, and that you know, helps keep the wire out of the way. It's a clean run to the ESC, and usually the motors come with just a cheap round wire. I wouldn't say cheap, there's nothing cheap about it, it's just different. Not sure what I did with it. Okay, not going to worry about it for the moment, because this one should do fine. So let's start with the items in this bag, which is bag 10. And we're not going to be using this motor cover. This is for the other transmission setup. I guess they just give it to you as a spare. I'm not even sure it would work with the other one. It looks more like the one for the, I guess it would probably work for the laydown. I'm muttering, sorry. Now they show the pinion gear, but they did not provide one, and that's fine. I've got lots of pinion gears. Usually they leave it up to you to choose your pinion gear. Make sure that your sensor plug is fully engaged and firmly put in. They give us a pair of 3x8s, M3x8, for mounting the motor. I suppose I could probably rotate this one more hole over and have the wires be a little more to the side. The thing is there's going to be a battery right here, Let me just see how far I have to rotate it to get to the next mounting hole. Yeah, that's doable. I may end up rotating it back. I'll have to have the battery in place, have my ESC and wires, and kind of make a final decision on that. I think that's going to be a pain. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it back. I think I'd rather have the wires come across the waterfall and right over the battery like that. Put the ESC right about here or here. Now, of course, the position here is relative to the size of the pinion, so I'm just going to tighten these down just snugly, nothing heavy duty, because the motor will get moved a little forward or a little back at the appropriate time. I want to make sure that's not too close to the motor. That looks good. Let me get some tape. Cut that a little straighter. So, and that's all there is to that. Not exactly rocket science, but it does the job. So let's look at our battery mount instructions. Okay, just one thing I wanted to show you. We have these two pieces right here. Either one of them will plug in over here. Let me just spin this around. If you notice, we never did put anything in this hole back here. That's because there is an optional fan mount, and this is the piece right here, and it plugs in like that, and then you attach your fan like so, and you're blowing air onto the rear of the motor can. Okay, the problem is this motor, like a lot of motors these days, the back end is pretty much sealed up. The front end, on the other hand, has huge holes to allow airflow. And I've seen a lot of people mounting their fans right up here, like this, so that they blow down into the inside of the motor. And that is going to provide far more cooling than having the fan out here. And this isn't a buggy. We don't have a plastic body that's right on top of here or something like that. With a short course truck, this is even easier to do. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. One way might be just to drill a small hole right here in the top of the waterfall. I don't think it would do a lot of structural you're not going to take a lot of strength out of this, and I don't know how much these waterfalls really do anyway as far as structural strength. I mean, they definitely provide some flex limiting, but they are left with a pivot, and another way might be just to wrap something around here, or I could run something off on the 3D printer. There might even be someone offering a custom-made waterfall that is designed to accommodate a fan. I'll work out how I'm going to do it, but that is definitely how I'm going to do it. May just use one of the existing slots up here, put a nut on the back side and mount it like this. That would probably work really well. And to get extra power to the fan. I'm probably going to wire this into the positive and negative leads for the battery, just solder it in, and that way anytime the battery is plugged in, the fan is running. And it's also a good reminder to make sure that you unplug your battery when you're not running the car. And these little fans made by Rocket are really powerful. It's impressive. So if you're looking for a fan to get, that's definitely not bad. I've gotten them from Rude Dog. They also do good. Now, since I am not going to be using a fan over here, I don't need the fan mount. They provide you with a little cap that you plug in its place, and that has a tight little hole at the bottom that you're going to run a screw into, and they give us in this little bag here, along with this plug, they give us a a countersunk flathead screw that I'm going to put in now, and that finishes all the holes in the bottom that are going to have anything attached to them. So I will take care of the fan a little later. I'll definitely show you what I do with that. I brought out a battery to kind of help figure out positioning. Also to there's these little plugs that we're going to put in here. Give me just a moment. Okay. We have these little stops. They gave us 4 of them. I believe we're really only going to need 2 right away. I think they're all the same size. Yeah, maybe they just give us a couple of spares. In any event, we are going to put them right here in these slots, and we're going to adjust them to the width of this battery. And doing that, we're going to use these little 6mm button head screws and a couple of washers. You know what, actually this is an excellent place to use aluminum. It doesn't bear any substantial amount of stress. It's not going to do a lot for weight, but if nothing else, the blue anodized aluminum looks nice. Now, I am probably going to mount this initially in a more forward position, again trying to centralize weight, keeping the front end down. You know, I may run into issues when I'm in jumps that this may need to move some weight back to keep the vehicle level in the air, but we'll see. But I'm going to start from this point of view. So we have these little, they actually look like shock standoffs, but they are for our battery. And let me see, I think they are 7mm. Yep. So I already pre-tapped these holes earlier in the process, and these are those stiffer chassis arms. Yeah, it's probably better to start them by hand a little bit. That stiff material is stiff. Okay, now we want this to be just about the top of the battery, so I need to turn that down a little further. So the idea is that you want this surface here to be level with the top of the battery, maybe a little bit below, so you get a bit more of a bit of a clamping action, but you don't want it to be too far down. I think I'm going to raise mine back one turn. Yeah, there we go. Those will wear in as we use it. Battery's nice and firm, and then we have our thumb screws. I think they're a little short to really be doing them with your thumb. I think you're going to end up using a wrench on them at times. That is a very solid battery mount, and it's easy to adjust. Now I've probably only got 1 or 2 holes going this direction before I run up against the waterfall because of the transmission I've chosen and the size of the battery, but I don't think that's going to be a problem, so we'll see. A lot of your first build is kind of a guessing game on certain settings. So now it's shocks, wheels, tires, and the rest of the electronics. I hate this stuff. It's like what you'd imagine Shrek's snot would be. I'm going to need to use some Goo Gone for that. But there is my speed controller, and I'll probably see, I could mount it to here and then be able to remove this panel with this to be able to do cleaning and stuff like that. The problem is twofold. Number one, if I don't want this weight, because that is a weight, that's a 13-gram weight, I could replace that with a steel weight if I want to, if I need more weight to add to the vehicle. And then I got to restick everything to it just to change a body weight. Also, if I, I think what I'm going to do is mount everything up here. I'm going to put the ESC right here. It means a little extra wire, but that's not a big deal. And my receiver is very small. I'll put it right here. And that way, I could potentially shorten these wires and make them just as long as they need to be, but that is a lot of work and crimping and stuff. I hate crimping. Oh, I hate it with a passion. But I'll think about it. So anyway, these are my electronics. Yours are going to be different. Yours may be larger, bigger footprint, things like that. The way your wiring is set up may be different. Like yours may already be pre-soldered, and you just need to run them to where you need to be. You may be limited by that length. So So I've got plenty of wire here to basically just run these like this. Could get a nice bend in them. Like that. The problem with that is they're right over top of the battery, and that makes it hard to pull the battery. It might be better to run them this way, and that way I can pull the battery to the side once I remove it. I think that's the best way to go. And yeah, I think that's how I'll do it. Okay, what I'll do is I'll do all this soldering and stuff offline. There's no need to bore you to tears with that kind of thing, because you're going to have to do it, you know, unique to your situation. So the truck is pretty much done. There's not much left to do except put wheels and tires, hang a body on it, and take it out for its first test run. I got to configure the ESC, but that's easily done. You'll notice I took this Rocket fan, and it's a very high RPM fan, like 23,000 RPM. It really puts out a blast of air. It's fantastic. And this end of the motor here, the front end, has a lot of open holes in it for cooling. So I decided to put the fan here on the waterfall. Now, I did not need to modify the waterfall at all. This is a 30mm Rocket fan. If you get one of these, a 2.5mm or an M2.5 bolt, which is 2.5mm, but the length of it about 4 or 5 millimeters, with a little nylon lock nut and a decent sized washer. The center air slot that they've cut in the waterfall here, it goes right through that hole, bolts in from the opposite side, and as you can see, the fan's blowing almost directly into the motor. And I've got it wired here straight into the battery leads, so it that makes for a you know, the maximum power, and it's on as soon as you plug it in. So it's kind of a reminder that the car is plugged in, because it's always going to be running. Let's see, our speed control, the connection over here for programming it is easily accessible. Just take this wire, plug this in, connect it to the interface box, and easily programmed. Nice neat bundle of wires there. I've got a power switch that I have not yet decided where I'm going to put it, but I will figure that out shortly. Got a little stub antenna going here. Nothing big. I mean, this antenna wire is very short. There's about a ½ inch of it sticking out the top that is folded over and covered with this little rubber cap. So that's all there is to it. One thing I have been thinking about doing is taking some Lexan, and if you've watched my builds on the Techno kits offer a it's not an aftermarket in that it comes from another vendor, but it's not included in the kit. It's like an optional upgrade, however you want to describe it. And what it does is it's a couple of side panels that go along either side of the chassis, and they help block air from getting up into the body and creating a parachuting effect. And I've got some Lexan sheeting, and I've actually been thinking about cutting some pieces that would just use these two holes for mounting, and kind of, you know, with the upward curve of these Nerf bars, that would make the Lexan curve slightly, and that would keep it from wanting to bend in this direction. Either, you know, probably just cut 2 sections to fit the chassis here, you know, space for the wheels, and create that same effect. Might even make them long enough, give them some little tabs, and have them bolt underneath these bolts here, you know, to also help create strength and keep them from fluttering. So, something I may tinker with, but everything's good to go. Front and rear sway bars are in. Steering, of course, needs to be tuned. I'm going to need to set this up on the board and hook up the hoodie tools to it, and set toe and camber and rear camber, and kind of figure out, you know, get everything just a baseline setup, and that's it. There's nothing left. I've even got a pinion on here. I'm going with an 18. It's probably a little fast. I might go to a 19 or a 20. I've got a variety of pinion gears, so I can switch around and figure out what works best for each track. So you know, mounting the shocks was nice and easy. Those J Concepts titanium mounts are really nice. I like the standard blue anodized aluminum mounts, but if you're running the steel screws, that's a lot heavier than these. This is a combination of titanium, plastic, and aluminum parts. So it's a very light setup. It's very strong at the same time. And the more weight you can take off up high, you know, the better. That's lowers your center of gravity. It's not a lot of weight, but, you know, every little bit helps. They're not overly expensive. If you're on a budget, that's not something you should buy. You should just go with the stock parts, focus on the bigger ticket items, and then once you've got your kit built, if you want to swap parts out, you know, things like that, you can go ahead and do that to your heart's delight as your budget allows. But you know, given the choice of a pair of these or an extra set of tires, I would go with the extra set of tires, because you're going to need multiple sets, and you're going to need to learn to tune your tires, you know, to different types of track conditions. You actually need to learn to, like, sand them down, kind of almost turn them into slicks. It kind of seems counterproductive, you know, that you would take a tire that's already got tread on it and then use a piece of sandpaper on a block or on a spatula of sorts to wear that tread down before you've even run the tire. But that's how you kind of tune the tires to get the best overall performance. It also depends on the track. So all things that you will eventually learn about if you want to race and you want to become competitive. So I hope you've enjoyed this series up till now. As you can see, I've used some little cable organizers. These are some items that I drew up in CAD, and then I just 3D print them, a batch of them at a time. Of course, these are for 2-wire leads, and these are for 3-wire leads, like off of the motors. And I can trim them so that the wires snap in, or I can feed them onto the wires like I've done with these, so they're on there permanently, unless I break them or cut them off for some reason. But that just, you know, helps keep your wires nice and organized. It's a nice clean look, and You know, as you can see, it kind of helps keep the wires, you know, out of the way where you want them and where you don't. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.